I was loyal, honest, and all in for years while my girlfriend secretly kept her abusive ex on the hook, lied to my face every time I left for work, emotionally cheated behind my back, and now I'm realizing I may have spent my entire relationship as the safe backup. For some context, I've been with this girl for a little over 3.5 years now. We first met back in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. Like a lot of people during that time, we connected quickly. There wasn't much else going on in the world, and we spent a lot of time talking, texting, and getting to know each other. We dated briefly, and things felt genuine and promising. Then, in a moment that I still regret and feel ashamed of, I disappeared. I stopped talking to her out of nowhere and didn't offer any explanation. Shortly after I vanished, she started talking to another guy, who I'll call James. According to her, their involvement was short but intense. She later told me that he sexually assaulted her and then left her to go back to his ex-girlfriend. That experience clearly traumatized her and left emotional scars that didn't just disappear with time. It's also important to mention that I was her very first relationship. When we dated in 2020, we never did anything intimate. James was her second relationship and the last one she had before we reconnected. They never had intercourse, but they did perform oral sex on each other, which was something she later used as a comparison. In 2022, I reached back out to her, wanting to reconnect and hopefully make things right. Almost simultaneously, James also reached out to her. Despite the overlap, she and I started talking again and eventually began dating. From the very beginning, though, the situation was messy and emotionally complicated. She never fully cut contact with James. Instead, his presence lingered constantly in our relationship. She would frequently bring up what I did in 2020, using it against me whenever she felt hurt or angry. She told me outright, more than once, that she liked James more than me. She said she would never have sex with me, that she would never be my girlfriend, and that what we were doing was just friends, even though we were sleeping together and I was her first sexual partner. What hurt the most wasn't just the words themselves, but the contrast in how she treated me versus how she treated him. From what I saw of her text conversations with James, she never spoke to him with the same anger or cruelty she directed at me. She didn't berate him for what he had done to her. Instead, her messages sounded almost apologetic and sad, like she was mourning what could have been. She often expressed regret that things hadn't turned out differently with him. A few months into us dating, she told me she was thinking about being friends with him, which stung deeply considering that just friends. At that point, I told her honestly that if she truly didn't want to be my girlfriend and genuinely liked James more than me, then I didn't want to hold her back. I told her she should do whatever she felt was right for her. I didn't try to persuade her to choose me or beg her to stay, even though, paradoxically, our relationship outside of this issue was actually really good. She then told me she wasn't going to talk to James anymore. Not long after that, she turned around and criticized me for not asking her to be my girlfriend after all those months of dating. I was genuinely confused. I told her that I hadn't asked because she explicitly told me she didn't want to be my girlfriend, and because she never stopped talking to someone she said she liked more than me. She responded by saying she was still deeply upset about me disappearing in 2020 and that she had been lashing out because of that pain. Even after that, James continued to reach out to her. She would complain to me about it, telling me she had told him she was happy with me and didn't want to talk anymore. I offered multiple times to step in and say something to him on her behalf, but she begged me not to. Eventually, after a coffee date at a lakeside Korean barbecue, I finally asked her to be my girlfriend. She hesitated before answering, but she said yes. From that moment on, we've officially been together as boyfriend and girlfriend, and for the most part, our relationship since then has been stable and relatively peaceful. Fast forward about 1.5 years to March of 2024. At that point, I was on my first over-the-road trip as a truck driver. It was a big adjustment for me, long hours, long stretches of isolation, and a lot of time to think. Roughly a week into the trip, she texted me sounding extremely anxious. She told me that James had reached out to her again, and that she didn't know what to do. I tried to respond in a way that showed trust rather than control. I told her that she was smart, that I trusted her judgment, and that she would do the right thing, whatever that looked like for her. I genuinely meant it. I had never had any concrete reason not to trust her. Despite our rocky beginnings, our relationship at that point felt solid, supportive, affectionate, and honest. I didn't want to be the kind of partner who policed her interactions or told her who she could and couldn't talk to. She replied saying something along the lines of, "You're right. I'm just going to ignore him and not say anything. Thank you for being so understanding." That response gave me relief. It was exactly what I expected to hear from her. I put the situation out of my mind and focused on work, confident that we were on the same page. After 3 weeks on the road, I finally came home. She ran to me, jumped into my arms, and held me tightly. It felt like a reunion scene out of a movie. We had missed each other deeply, and in that moment, everything felt safe again. I had no reason to believe anything was wrong. At the time, we were both attending college online. My laptop had broken right before I left for my trip, so while I was home, I was using hers to catch up on homework while she was at work. She had a MacBook, and because of the Apple ecosystem, all of her text messages from her phone were synced to the laptop. I wasn't looking for trouble, but curiosity got the better of me. I remembered her anxious message about James and figured I'd take a quick look, mostly expecting to see a single unanswered hey, or maybe a short message she'd ignored. What I saw instead made my entire body go cold. Almost immediately after telling me she wasn't going to respond to him, she had sent James a long paragraph explaining how she felt that he belonged in her life and that fate kept bringing them together. The conversation didn't stop there. They talked almost all day, every day. It wasn't constant flirting, but it was emotionally intimate in a way that crossed a line. She sent him pictures of her feet after getting them done at the salon. He frequently made sexual innuendos, replying to messages like "WID today?" with things like "hopefully you winky face." At one point, he alluded to her being a cheater. She didn't deny it, not even playfully. She just let it hang there. As I scrolled further, my chest tightened more and more. The timeline was clear. Their conversations continued right up until the day I told her I was coming home and would be staying for 2 weeks before going back on the road. And her last message to him shattered whatever denial I had left. "Talk to you again in 2 weeks." When I finally confronted her about it, I made a conscious effort to stay calm. I didn't want to explode or accuse her outright. I wanted to give her the chance to tell her side of the story without me immediately revealing how much I knew. So I asked simple, straightforward questions. I asked if she had responded to James after telling me she wouldn't. I asked what they had talked about. At first, she acted like she genuinely didn't know what I was referring to. She played confused. Then, little by little, she started spoon-feeding me information, small, vague details, almost like she was testing the waters to see how much I actually knew before saying too much. That alone hurt. It felt calculated, like she wasn't being honest unless forced to be. I couldn't get a real admission out of her until I finally told her I had read the entire conversation myself. That's when she broke down crying. I never raised my voice. I didn't call her names. I didn't insult her or threaten to leave. I just kept asking the same questions. Why did you say you wouldn't respond and then do it anyway? What were you getting out of those conversations? She told me that she knew I wouldn't want her talking to him, but that she felt lonely while I was gone and just wanted a friend. Hearing that, I felt my resolve start to crack. I hated seeing her cry, and against my better judgment, I started rubbing her back, trying to comfort her even though I was the one who had been lied to. Still, I expected some kind of accountability, an apology, a plan, something that showed she understood the damage she'd caused. So I asked her, "What are you going to do to fix this?" Her response stunned me. She said, "I don't know, what do you want me to do?" That answer made it feel like the responsibility was being put back on me, like I had to script her apology and her boundaries for her. I suggested what felt obvious, blocking him and making it clear that it was never going to happen again. She picked up her phone and said she would block him, but then hesitated. She put the phone back down, started crying harder, and nothing actually happened. A week went by. Nothing changed. As far as I knew, James was still unblocked and still a presence in her life. When I brought it up again, her demeanor completely shifted. She was angry now, defensive. She raised her voice and asked, "Why do you care so much?" She dismissed my feelings entirely, as if I was overreacting instead of responding to a genuine betrayal. I felt blindsided. I had trusted her completely. I had defended her to myself. All I wanted was something simple. "I'm sorry. I messed up. Here's how I'm going to make sure this never happens again." Instead, I got deflection, frustration, and silence. Still confused and emotionally drained, I wrote her a long paragraph while I was at work, carefully explaining how everything made me feel. I tried to be clear, vulnerable, and calm. She responded with, "Can you just call me?" So I called her. She picked up and immediately said, "Okay, so just say what you have to say." I was stunned. I asked if she had read the message I'd just sent. She hadn't. She started reading it while we were on the phone. As she read, she interrupted to tell me how I was wrong, how I misinterpreted everything, how none of it meant what I thought it did. There were more tears, more self-pity. When I brought up the fact that she had said she'd block him and didn't, she snapped. Through tears and anger, she said, "Here, you want me to block him? I'll block him right now. There. Are you happy?" It didn't feel like accountability. It felt like resentment. I later found out that she had actually blocked him, because weeks afterward, he tried to contact her from a fake number. She told me about it and said she wasn't going to respond. Fast forward to October of this year, more than a year and a half after everything blew up the first time. I genuinely believed we had moved past it. I believed her when she said it would never happen again. I believed that blocking him was the end of it, that she had chosen me, that we were finally on the same page. I was wrong. One day, she tells me that Jamisa texted her again. This time, it was from his real number. Right away, that didn't sit right with me because as far as I knew, he was supposed to be blocked. What she didn't tell me, what I later found out on my own, is that at some point, she had unblocked his real number. For what reason? I still don't know. She also didn't tell me that she didn't just receive a message from him, she responded. Not just a quick exchange. Not a one-time slip. Months of conversations. They reminisced about old times. They talked about their past connection. They critiqued me, specifically the fact that I haven't married her yet. This part is especially insane to me because we are both still in college and she has explicitly said herself that she doesn't want to get married until after we graduate. Yet somehow, behind my back, I'm being framed as the problem. I've known about all of this for at least a month now, and I haven't said anything yet. I don't even know where to start. This is technically the only recurring problem in our relationship, but it's not a small one. It's the same problem repeating itself in different forms: secrecy, dishonesty, emotional betrayal, and a refusal to fully let go of this guy from her past. What makes it worse is that I already know exactly how the confrontation will go, because I've lived it before. It'll be March all over again. Crying. Self-pity. Deflection. No real apology. No concrete plan to fix anything. No accountability. Just me being made to feel like I'm heartless for being hurt, or unreasonable for expecting loyalty. At this point, I have almost no trust left. And honestly, I barely feel emotionally attached anymore. The only way I've been able to cope is by emotionally detaching, by pretending like I don't care. I tell myself it doesn't matter. I keep things light. I avoid digging too deep. But the truth is, I feel like I'm losing my mind anyway. The detachment doesn't actually make it better. It just makes everything feel numb and hollow. As far as I know, she hasn't physically cheated on me. I don't think they've met up. But to me, this is clearly a pattern. A pattern of deceit. A pattern of betrayal. A pattern of choosing secrecy over honesty and comfort over commitment. It feels like she doesn't value our relationship enough to actually protect it. I can't shake the feeling that she's terrified of losing him completely. That she wants to keep him around as a backup. Just in case. Just in case we don't work out. Just in case she changes her mind. Meanwhile, we've been planning a future together. We're saving for a house. Talking about marriage. Supporting each other through school. That realization hurts more than anything else. What makes all of this even harder to swallow is the double standard. She regularly checks my phone. She finds nothing. And that's not because I'm hiding things. It's because there is nothing to hide. I don't have social media. I don't talk to my exes. I barely even have friends. I'm loyal to a fault. There's also an intimacy aspect that I can't ignore anymore, even though I've tried. She doesn't want to perform oral on me, and I've never pressured her or made her feel bad about that. I've always respected her boundaries. But it's hard not to think about the fact that this same guy, the one she can't seem to fully let go of, is the one she did that with. It makes me question everything. Am I less desired? Less exciting? Less wanted? Does she just like him more than me? I don't know how to approach this. I don't know if confronting her is even worth it anymore. Do we break up? Do we stay together but emotionally detach? Do I keep swallowing this until I completely disappear inside the relationship?